Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Ryan in Singapore. Welcome to our mindfulness practice. Today's topic is about celebrating progress and why celebrating progress is important and what that looks like. I mean, why bother celebrating progress? Am I celebrating progress because um, because I'm boasting, because I want to tell everybody how many days in a row I've been meditating on Insight Timer? I mean, is that part of it, or what's the reason? What sits back behind celebration? So this comes off of the topic, which is patience and persistence. And so each of these lessons that I've been doing do kind of flow together. So patience and persistence, if we are continuing patiently and persistently, even with renewed effort and that patience and persistence, and even in taking small steps, we may still over time start to feel overwhelmed. So without the celebration, this journey can feel like an endless striving. Endlessly, the goal is never there. We're never grasping the goal, so it can lead to burnout and eventually giving up. And so, the way I've structured this was the first month was about cultivating new helpful habits, and then this month is more about stopping habits that we would like to stop in our life, or unhelpful habits or unwanted habits. So what does celebrating progress, because we did talk a little bit about progress and celebrating small wins in the last part, the part about cultivating new habits. So what does it look like here in this space of trimming off, pruning out our unwanted habits? So I think it's useful to do, because it does help keep us going and keep us from burning out as we're trying to cultivate the resilience to keep working at these habits that we're hoping to get rid of. So first, what is the role of mindfulness in celebrating in celebration? And that's maybe the very key first part, is noticing that it has happened, noticing that we have been successful, and that pausing to notice. And every success can be used as something to celebrate. So it doesn't have to be something huge and earth shattering. Pausing to meditate for 5 minutes instead of skipping my meditation completely. Choosing to drink water over the sugary beverage. We could celebrate our consistency. So acknowledging showing up day after day, even if it isn't perfect, even if we aren't meditating for the 20 minutes that we hope for. We were able to get there for 5 minutes. And I mean, that's something I do appreciate about Insight Timer, is that you get credit for your consecutive milestones, your consecutive practice, whether you practiced an hour or whether you practiced 1 minute or 30 seconds. You get credit for that, for doing it. So, and I think that's the right way to look at it, is to help to celebrate what has been working. Milestones, right? Speaking of Insight Timer milestones, that's another thing that we can celebrate. So when we have stuck with a habit for a month, can we celebrate that? That, hey, here it is. And again, that's how Insight Timer can help you with that. Besides meditation, using journaling to remind yourself how things are going. Journaling can be very powerful in keeping track of how things are going, and then you can keep track of every single day that I have, instead of scrolling before going to bed, I have managed to get my head on the pillow and to start trying to sleep immediately instead of doing these unhelpful habits. Um, and then inner shifts, recognizing those moments when patience, kindness, and awareness weren't in that space before. So we can notice those times that maybe in the past we would have done a different action, but because of our consistency and our practice, and we just want to emphasize that word practice, because this is how it's done. Going back to patience and persistence, as we do a positive habit, or as we consistently resist the unhelpful habit, we are constantly building ourselves. We are laying the groundwork, we're laying the foundation for being able to be successful next time. And I think that's important in the small wins too, that you don't have to be 100% successful, whatever that looks like, to take credit for the win. So, what are some of these? What are some examples of progress that can be celebrated? And I think this is important to name and to take note of, because what if you notice yourself, you notice the trigger, you notice the cue, and you go ahead and you do the unwanted habit anyway? What happens in that moment? What happens? What do we feel like? And how does that affect our future progress as well? So some examples of progress that can be celebrated is shortening the duration of the unhelpful habit. So I only scrolled for 20 minutes last night instead of 1 hour before bed. That's progress. That is a step in the right direction. Delaying our action. So it could be something like this. I felt the craving and I waited for a minute before responding. So that delay, as we use this delay, the longer that we're able to delay the unhelpful habit, the more likely we are to be able to not do it. And that's the other thing, is I'm not sure about your experience with unhelpful habits, but I've found that even that 1 minute can seem like an eternity. And so that the amount of battling that can happen in that 1 minute, where I want so badly to do that unhelpful habit, and it does affect positive habits, right? Like meditating. I mean, I can reflect back to my meditation yesterday, is that I really wanted to stop my meditation and go do something else. I just had so many other things on my mind that I wanted to do. And I could really feel that. I could feel the tension in my body. I could feel that desire to get up and walk away, because that's just what was there, right? And so I was able to notice it and keep coming back to my meditation. And I'll tell you, in the end, I ended up meditating less than I had intended to. It got to be a bit overwhelming, that constant wandering, but I still meditated more than I expected I would be able to meditate. That each time that distraction was coming up, I was able to notice it and to come back to the breath and to meditate for another 3 or 4 more breaths. And it felt really, really hard, but it also felt like a win, because I was able to meditate longer than I had expected. Another example of progress, and I think I'm gonna write these in the chat. So the first one is shorter duration. The second one is delaying our action. So instead of getting up immediately from our meditation, bye, Sybil. Have a good day, and um, try to enjoy the dentist. Smaller frequency. So this is another thing that we can celebrate. So instead of having 3 sugary beverages, I only had 1. And so that can be something to celebrate as a win as well. Emma says, I did something similar to that. I have recently been improving my sleep. I now have a time in the evening where I get myself, and then I can spend the rest of the time relaxing and then going to bed earlier than before. The sessions here really help. Thanks, Emma. I'm really happy to hear that, and keep it up. This isn't the end of the road. Even these positive habits are forming. There can still be temptation to slip back into the old habits. So, okay, smaller frequency. Doing that habit less often than I had previously. Another thing we can notice is moments of awareness. So moments of awareness. Okay, get myself ready for bed. Thanks. That makes sense. I noticed the trigger in my body before I acted, right? So celebrating that this has happened. Noticing what it feels like before we want to do that. And I think that these moments are really important to celebrate, because when trying to stop an unhelpful habit, it can feel very defeating when we do the thing that we didn't want to do, and the shame that can come with it, and the defeated feeling that can come with it. So these smaller pieces to celebrate can be really helpful in that reinforcement. So I noticed the trigger in my body before I acted. So that moment of awareness, that small moment between stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space is our power to choose our response, and in our response lies our growth and our freedom. That little bit of expansion of that space is a huge win, and it can be or is instrumental to being able to stop doing the thing that we always do, that is automatically happening, that we're not even conscious of sometimes. And when we do bring this interruption in, those first few times, and maybe not even the first few times, they're really hard. So celebrate that extra moment of awareness. Celebrate noticing what has happened in the body. And then last but not least, by any means not least, compassion after the slip. So don't beat yourself up after the slip. And celebrate that you didn't. I didn't beat myself up. I reset gently. That's something to celebrate. So knowing that harshness towards self is this recoil that makes, again, self-compassion is often counterintuitive. We think that beating ourselves up is the way to make progress, that I have to be harsh to myself. If I don't, how will I ever learn if I'm nice to myself, right? This is not the right approach, and there's data to back it. This is not just Ryan talking. This is the research that's been done on self-compassion. You are more likely to succeed if you come towards your setbacks with a loving voice, with encouragement rather than beating yourself up. So that is part of the progress as well. I didn't beat myself up this time when I didn't do what it is that I intended to do. I reset gently. So what's mindfulness? What is mindfulness's role in all of this? Mindfulness is the lens. Mindfulness helps us see clearly, and attitudes, the 9 attitudes of MBSR, I'll flash it up again, are part of this process. Non-judging, right? Non-judging is key to see this clearly. This happened. And can I refrain from, or can I notice myself labeling it as bad, right? Good, bad, neutral. These are judgments that the mind is constantly always making. Patience with myself. Attitude number 2. Can I understand that things unfold in their own time? This habit is not going to be changed overnight. It's something that needs practice, and it needs more reinforcement. The more often that you do something, the easier it is to do it again because of how the brain is wired. We're literally rewiring the brain through neuroplasticity. So neuroplasticity is real. There are physical changes in the brain based on what we think, what we do, and what we pay attention to, and regular practice. Doing something over and over again helps to reinforce it so that instead of having an unhelpful automatic loop in our minds, we can build helpful automatic loops. So mindfulness as the lens helps us notice even the smallest shifts. That's why we're building mindfulness. That's why we're practicing mindfulness, is to strengthen our awareness so that the small shifts don't go unnoticed, that we can celebrate these small shifts. Mindfulness transforms our progress from something invisible into something we can acknowledge and be grateful for. So let me say that again. Mindfulness transforms progress from something invisible into something we can acknowledge with gratitude. And it replaces harsh self-criticism with encouragement. This also is key to this new habit formation. Yes, I'm learning. Yes, I'm moving forward. Yes, I can see my progress. Instead of, no, I've failed again. No, I can't believe I did that stupid thing that I wanted to do. Bad me, stupid me, right? This is the way to make progress. So don't measure your success by what you stopped. Measure it by what you're growing. Each time you pause, even for a breath, you are making progress. So keep it up. Okay, I'm going to look here at the chat really quickly. Angie says, I got an app recently. It lets you type in your chores, habits, etc. It includes adding time out from tech device, and you can choose the time. I chose 20 minutes of no tech, and it felt scary even to see it typed out. But I lived, and now after 2 weeks, it feels like a relief. Thanks, Angie, for sharing that. That's really helpful. And I think taking a tech break can be scary. You know, I led retreats when I was living in Hong Kong, like 3-day silent retreats. And I just remember people saying, hey, can you make an exception for me? Can you let me keep my phone? You know, can you not have the digital, can I not do the digital detox? And what's really funny too sometimes is that it's like I'm so important attitude that comes with it. Like my husband, my kids aren't going to be able to make it without me. And I think the joy of the end of those retreats was just seeing, like, one, their family survived. Everything was fine. And number 2, hey, wait a minute. This time without talking, without having my device, without constantly needing to communicate is very healing and very refreshing for me. So I would encourage you to keep to try it out and see how it goes. Angie says that 20 minutes has expanded, and now I'm taking longer text scrolling breaks, and it feels good. Let's go ahead and get into our mindfulness practice for today. So today we're shifting a little bit from building raw awareness to gratitude. So gratitude can be really, really helpful in celebrating. I mean, that's what celebration is, right? Celebration is bringing gratitude with intention. And so can we notice what it is that we have been successful doing? So get comfortable wherever you are. Find a meditation posture that's going to be helpful and supportive for you. If you like, you can close your eyes. Notice the body. Notice how the body feels. Notice the feeling of gravity pulling down on the body and how the body responds. What do the muscles in the back feel like today? What do the muscles in the shoulders feel like? And the neck? Can you feel gravity in the spine, in the vertebrae? Let me guide you now to the breath. So just want to invite you to notice the fact that you are breathing. And with the breath comes physical sensations. Can you feel the sensation of the abdomen expanding and contracting? Sensation of the breath at the nostrils. Maybe even noticing the sound the breath makes. And so as I'm practicing gratitude, this is one of the very first places that I start, is noticing that I am breathing. I am alive. Something so basic that's so easy to take for granted. Your next breath is not guaranteed by anyone. This breath could be the very last one. So is it possible to look at it that way? There is no guaranteed next breath. This breath is keeping me alive. His breath is beautiful. Can I observe it with beginner's mind? To really appreciate it. Appreciate the fact that I'm alive. And then we can let the rest of our gratitude blossom out of these simple seeds of noticing that we are alive right now. And that this breath, this body, these automatic processes inside of my body are sustaining me. 95+% of what happens in our body is out of our control. Our digestive system's functioning, our hearts are beating, our liver's working, our kidneys are filtering out toxins and keeping pH balance of our blood. So much is going on. Being alive is a kind of small miracle. And so starting gratitude practice with that, if you feel like that's a good place for you to get started. And so now let me invite you to bring into mind some habit that you're working on. So it could be trying to go to bed earlier. It could be drinking less sugary beverages. So whatever habit it is that you are working on, just bring that into mind. Recognize what it is that you are working on. What is your intention behind it? Why are you working on this? And then look into the recent past. Maybe today, maybe yesterday. What is a small win that I had that I can take credit for? So, did a behavior change? Was I able to drink only 2 sugary beverages yesterday instead of 3? Or maybe it was a delay. Maybe I was able to notice the craving, notice the feeling, notice the bodily sensations around it. And so ultimately the decision wasn't as important as the cultivation of awareness. So, can you celebrate that noticing? I noticed the trigger. I noticed the cue. I noticed what my body felt like. So, giving yourself some gratitude. And then another piece that could be worth celebrating is having compassion for yourself when you slipped. Did that happen? Instead of beating yourself up, were you there in your own corner, encouraging yourself? Not beating yourself up for making the wrong decision, encouraging yourself, helping to shift your awareness to what it is that you did right. Noticing the body, noticing the feelings, noticing the cue, the trigger. Changing habits is not an overnight process. And mindfulness is key. Awareness is key to be able to make those habits last. It can be hard to see those shifts. Sometimes they're small, they're minute, they're minuscule. So building this awareness to notice and then celebrating success. So can you be grateful for even the smallest bits of progress you've made? And so now let's begin to shift our attention back to the body. Back to the breathing. And I just want to invite you to notice moment by moment how things are changing. And previously, when we were talking about the habit, thoughts were going. What was happening in the body? What were you feeling? And then now, and even me mentioning that might be bringing up sensations in the body. Now, as we come back to the breath, follow the breath once again. Now, what is changing moment by moment? So, congratulations, everybody, for having made it through our mindfulness practice today. Take a moment to celebrate having done this. Congratulate yourself. And I'll close our practice with 3 rings of the bell. All right. Well done. How'd it go? What happened? And feel free to share in the chat what happened during the meditation, what happened before, what habits are you working on. Feel free to share in the chat. And as we get rolling into the end here, I wanted to say, last time I mentioned Rumi's Field with Violet 108, and I just got a message from her yesterday that she had to cancel. So unfortunately, I'm not rolling directly into that today because for whatever reason, she had to cancel it. So yeah, not happening, but it's okay. I'll be on the Ask Your Guides in December to talk about, interestingly, from today's topic, is about gratitude. So I just kind of wanted to talk about gratitude, as one of the 9 attitudes of MBSR. So 9 attitudes of mindfulness is gratitude and generosity are the last 2, and they are put there at the end for a reason. And yeah, because they begin to naturally arise out of a lot of the rest of the practice. And gratitude itself is very powerful and can bring intention to what's right and what's going right instead of what's wrong and what hasn't gone right. It's very easy for the mind to cling to the thing that is unsatisfactory. I mean, that's a natural human process. We want to look at what's gone wrong so that we can fix it, because, that's part of being human, is we want everything to be perfect. We want our lives to be ideal. We want what is impossible, because that is part of the evolutionary process. We want things to be as awesome as possible for a variety of reasons, which I'm not going to go into why biologically we want everything to be perfect, but for certainly there are good biological reasons for us to want everything to be perfect all the time. So know that. Don't beat yourself up for that desire for everything to be perfect, the perfectionism that you may have, or how this applies to celebration. It doesn't have to be perfect, because these small steps are already big progress. I will be back to continue this series next time. Let's see. Next time we're working on building resilience to relapse. So that is the next piece. So we certainly can have times. So, besides celebrating these small wins, there are times that we have our setbacks, and those setbacks can feel very defeating and can overshadow the small wins sometimes. So what do we do? How do we prevent ourselves from going backwards and being completely defeated when we slip? So that's what we'll talk about next time. If another thing you can do to help is donate if you have the means and you found today's session useful. And I guess it's time for me to close today. I'm already feeling a little heavy about Jean. I hope she's doing okay. I know I just know that these animal companions of hers mean a lot, and I'm sure it's going to be a difficult process for her. So let's close our practice the way we do, with some well wishes to ourselves and to well wishes to everybody else who's here. So follow along with me if you like. May I be happy and peaceful. May everyone watching, listening, wherever you are, I wish you all happiness and peace. And may everyone everywhere, our human companions, our non-human companions, wherever they are, whatever their state is, I wish them all happiness and peace. Thanks again, everybody. Take care. Hope to see you again. I'll be back on Tuesday morning Singapore time. Might be Monday night for you, to talk about relapse and the resilience that we can have during those times. Take care, and I hope to see you then. Bye-bye.